So I get a click track.
I know, right?
This is not.
That's how I know when he starts recording, because that click.
I literally, because when you make music, they put a metronome in your ear.
Yeah.
The drummer has it, but I use it too. And you get ready to play when you.
Yeah, when you hear that, I know, right? And for a while, he stopped using it, and I was like, no, I need that, because that's how I know. Especially when we're doing this live streaming, that that's when we're actually recording this portion of the podcast. But luckily, we're not live streaming this right now. Right?
This is not live stream.
Not live stream. We're just recording and chatting.
But the last time I saw you, you were sick and having to admin a whole live thing. That was amazing.
I know, right?
I
had the devil's mustard in my eyes. It was the worst.
I was at the end of tour, and I was having a good time.
It was the end of Greg's
nice.
tour.
Yeah, so that was at D&D Live in May.
Yeah, and there were other good bands. I really enjoyed Magic Sword, and there was another band. God, what are they called? They're from Portland. They were so good.
The fantasy metal band. Yeah.
That was Magic Sword. No, there was a band led by a woman.
There was who?
Cardioid.
They were great.
They were so good.
They were so good. I mean, everybody was great, but Cardioid was like, that knocked me over. It was so fun to play after them. You know,
I loved them.
Yeah, they were fantastic.
They had that kind of ethereal kind of thing that made it feel like you were in this weird fantasy world very often.
No, it shares space with some of the gauzier sort of. There's a metal style that's like Paradise Lost is one of these bands, and Anathema, these ones who do a sort of a gothic metal. That it was kind of like
Muse.
that.
Yeah. Exactly. So that was tons of fun. I'm so glad you were able to come and be a part of that.
I was really glad I was there.
Because I know it was the end of tour. That always makes it super hard.
It was the end. It was a little hard, but at the same time, it was good because when you go home directly from tour, it really is like coming home from the moon. It's like you just change or changing time dimensions or something. It's like you sort of have to roll adjust, right? I mean, it's sort of like when you have a drive home from work, that can be pretty healthy. Because you have 15 or 20 minutes to get out of your work brain and into your home brain. Right? And you listen to music or whatever. And with tour, there's never any of that. It's like you wake up the morning after the last show, you catch a plane home, and you boom.
Yeah, you're right in.
Kids are
and that plane ride is not enough. It's like and 2 days in L.A., it made a little re-entry a little easier.
Nice.
So.
Nobody claps for you when you walk into the room anymore.
Oh, I got 2 kids.
They clap for you?
When I show up, they absolutely dive bomb me. It's awesome.
That is pretty good.
Yeah, it's the best.
Especially after, how many weeks were you on tour for that one?
That was 3. That was
3?
We're doing, we're hitting the road this year. This is our 3rd tour, I think, so far, and then there's another one in Europe just after this one. So. Nice.
Yeah, and so you're here in Seattle for In League with Dragons came out.
Yeah, that's right. It was massive. It was really fun. It's like all these the whole performing for the Dragon was such a great kickoff. It was really cool.
Yeah, that was back in January, right? Or early February, where you were here and we announced that. That was so fun.
It was incredible. And then there was a UK a super old school. I think it's called. Is it called Dragon Plus? I think the magazine, old school magazine, statted up the dragon from the front cover and gave it a name and everything. It was super cool.
So what's the name?
Protector.
Oh.
So yeah, it was hip. It's like it's been a fully immersive time. It's been great.
That's cool.
So tell us about the album. What is In League of Dragons?
So In League with Dragons began life as a full-on fantasy rock opera called River's End about a seaside community whose wizard is dying because most wizards are always dying, right? And so. And
they're old. They've got lots of liches coming after them.
Even when they don't look old, they're in fact old
exactly.
and ancient. And wizards are like default ancient. This is something I think about a lot because if you ever read Mort d'Arthur by Thomas Mallory,
I haven't, but
so
I know it's.
You really should because it's like this is Merlin. It might be the first. I don't think it's the first appearance of Merlin, but it's where Merlin's starting to get a little. He's beginning to take form, but he's not old. Right, he's just a guy, right? And as a wizard, he's got a trickster aspect to him where he shows up and there's all these scenes where he shows up and he's talking to them and giving them advice. And in the middle of the conversation, they realize they're talking to Merlin. That's the stuff I love, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool. So
it began as
this rock opera where the wizard is dying and it's a peaceful seaside community under siege, attacked by sea, who have to defend themselves. But they know the terrain, and the invaders don't. And that was the main dynamic, is trying to protect the wizard, who gets kidnapped at one point. One of the songs survived, the one called Clemency for the Wizard King, kind of the most aggressively fantasy one that still remained. But I was interested to see what the themes were that were actually around it, because that's what fantasy is about, is actually normal, everyday human themes with different clothes on, I think.
For sure.
And I thought, well, it's about how you sort of expect to think of yourself as you grow a little older versus what it actually feels like, right? Because I think aging wizards are good at this. if you are a wizard, you know that your powers, that your ability to do magic will grow stronger, even if your access to the magic grows a little harder to get, right?
Yeah.
But an old wizard knows his spells better, right? I mean, this is
because
obvious,
he's been practiced.
Right?
He's been doing it for years.
He's the one who can teach the younger wizards, right? But he might not actually be able to stand in battle as long, right? And I mean, I think this is true with musicians and writers. With writers, it's interesting.
It's people in general, though, too, right?
It is. Yeah. But with musicians and movie stars, there's sort of this expectation that you'll do your best work when you're young. I don't think that's actually true. I think it's a weird thing people got when rock and roll happened, like the notion that your best work belongs to your youth. And you do have a thing called first album syndrome that happens for people sometimes, where they put all their best work in the first album, and they never quite go back on the horse.
And then the sophomore album is always like, oh gosh, there's going to be a problem.
But with writers, you sort of expect that an author's last book will sort of contain whatever the core message was. And that's how I feel as a songwriter, is like, I'm getting better at it, even though, like, my first 2-week tour, by the end of it, I was like, oh, put me back out, And now by the end of 3 weeks, I do feel like the bus has been running over me instead of
Oh, that's fascinating, though, because I'm reading this story by Tad Williams. He's a fantasy author. And in the 90s, he had his first series that was take place in, it's typical coming of age. There was a teenage boy who, gets caught up, and then he falls in love with a princess, and they kind of, end of that story, they're going to be the king and queen, right? And then 30 years later, is it 30 years? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
He's writing the follow-up series, and those same characters are middle-aged and dealing with, the running of a kingdom at that point.
Real life stuff.
Yeah, and so I was a teenager when I read those books early on, and now I'm reading them now.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
Oh, God, I really feel for these characters. They've grown up just like I have
That's
grown
brave
up.
of that author to do also, because there is that, if he made his bones on this story as it was a young, exciting couple, it's like to go, well, this is the theme I'm writing about too, and if you don't relate to it now, maybe you will later.
Yeah,
that's one of those things.
Yeah,
it takes it's hard for me to do. It's like I've been promoting this album for a year. I still don't like to say, well, it's largely about aging. I don't like to say that. It's like, I make rock and roll. I can imagine being 17 and going, cool, I'll take a pass on that. It's like, but
you're like, I'm not going to do the divorce album that everybody does, but I'll do the growing old.
That
one.
will never happen. But I don't do parenting records. That's a hard, fast rule with me. Is I'm not going to do any records about how glorious it is to be a parent, even though it is glorious.
It is glorious, but you're right. You don't want to do the They Might Be Giant style and do like kids music.
They do an amazing job. Although I will tell you, if you have a child who gets super into that record, you can't get that thing out of your brain.
You really
I still
cannot.
have hot dog.
There's only one everything. The last time I checked, there's only one everything. Right, there's that. We did that in the ABC's one. But,
that's so good.
Yeah,
you could reinvent yourself like Casper Baby Pants.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
He's like
he was in Presidents of the USA. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that stuff is great. And there's Miss
Never
Casey.
saw.
There's a songwriter named Miss Casey who gave me her CD at an event, who's extremely good and worth looking into. She's from out in North Carolina and does a lot of super inclusion stuff in her stuff, which is really rad. So.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that you're from Durham. Like, I mean, I lived there for 5 years.
That's right. You were there.
Yeah. I have such a connection. So whenever, you tweet about things or what's going on in the home state there.
It's so different now. When was the last time you were there?
5 years ago.
Oh, wow. In the last 5 years, there's a gigantic tower down here.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
They were, I knew somebody who was in the building inspector office there in the Durham city. Wow. And so they were doing the permits and stuff for that. And they're like, this skyline is going to be not the same in 5 years. And I guess it is.
There's several different ones. The ones just looking off 147, all these condos went up that had been, one of them was a used car lot, but like now it's big buildings. It's totally different.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, we all complain about it because you get your things that you feel like are like, look, that's for wherever, like the axe throwing bar. Right? You go, does that feel like a North Carolina thing, really?
Yeah.
So,
those are fun, though.
Have you done it? No, the thing, my wife went, and I saw footage of my wife throwing the axe. I was like, well, I'm into it. But
yeah.
And they're always in places where alcohol is served, which seems like, axes
wait a second.
and drunk people.
Well, I'm going to move out here and do the cannabis axe throwing bar.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then I'm going to get sued out of existence.
People would be like,
wait a second.
the axe would never get.
I'm going to throw it at your face.
People just dropping axes on their feet.
D12 damage.
Yeah.
Roll it. That's awesome. I went to one of those in Brooklyn, and
there's the thing. It's like, whatever you think about them, I hear once you do it, it's fun.
It is really fun.
Oh, I would totally be in.
And of course, I got recognized there because the guy had like a Death Saves shirt on or something like that.
I bought one of those at the thing, the purple one with the old TSR.
I know it. I love that one. That's my favorite.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about the old ads that don't quite get at what was cool about Dungeons and Dragons, but they were trying.
Well, what's cool is like they don't know.
Cool now.
They're trying to present. I think they're not quite sure who their audience is yet, and so they're doing. And I don't know this, but I wonder if they were farmed out to traditional ad firms.
I think they were.
And so the ad firm is like talking to people and going, so what is it? You go, well, it's a game. It's like a board game? No. And so they're taking what they would go, okay, so it's like Monopoly. Yeah.
Where's the board?
So I think they would just like sit and have one meeting and go, okay, so it's a game. Okay, we can sell games. We did stuff for Milton Bradley. We got this.
Yeah, right. And then the tagline something like, D&D players are ahead of the game.
Yeah, I love it.
Like, oh, that's so not really true. But
ahead of the game.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting thing about the ad because it does sort of look like a stereo ad. It's super cool.
You could see Mad Men, people having those discussions.
I would love
about
to be in those pitch meetings.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
That would be
because it would totally be. You'd have to be like one guy every so often being like, well, this sounds interesting. I'd like to talk to you more about it.
Yes.
But for the most part, it'd be people just struggling to understand.
Right.
You have this when you're hiring publicists in music. If most musicians, I sort of feel like their own stuff is special enough to warrant its own presentation. And I think publicists are like, so am I selling a heavy metal record?
Yeah.
Am I selling a folk record? What am I doing? And so
it's got to be a genre. It's got to like fit into
so you
a
have these
pigeonhole.
meetings where you try to explain what's different.
It's such a contrast now because I've been reading articles about advertising agencies playing Dungeons and Dragons as like creative team building things so that they can just generate ideas and get used to pitching and improvisation together.
The improv aspect of it is like turned out to me to be one of like the most, what do you call it when you can move a skill set from one place to another?
Transferable?
Yeah, one of the most transferable things is like when you play D&D or any tabletop game, you just wind up thinking about that stuff in other things you do, whether you're writing or having conflicts with people.
Yeah.
It becomes useful for sorting, like, what do I want out of this conflict? What do I not want? How do I want to be seen? All that kind of stuff. It's really incredibly useful stuff.
And how you present yourself, all those things.
Yeah, how you align. I mean, alignment we talked about last time is like, I really think is like, who am I in this party?
Right. Yeah, that's that. I mean, and I want more people to engage with tabletop role-playing games for that reason, because you're like, oh, you get to think about things that you don't necessarily think about in your daily life.
Yeah, it's incredibly, like I think I talked about last time, is like when I am writing books now, I don't stat up characters and stuff, but I do think it's like, okay, well, look, I've got 5 people here. Who does what? Right. Who is who? Who's here for what reason?
What are their roles?
Yeah, it's super interesting stuff.
So you're a novelist too?
Yeah. I have 2 and a half out. I have one that was like a music criticism, but it was veiled in the form of a story. And there was a novella for the 33 1/3 series. Those.
Yeah.
So I did the Black Sabbath one.
Oh, cool.
But it was written by a guy in a treatment center who was petitioning his therapist to give him his tapes back. Right? And then it follows up 10 years later, after he's an adult and he has some grievances to address with the same therapist, and he's talking mainly through Black Sabbath, right, to Master of Reality.
Oh my God!
And then I had 2 books. One which was about a game designer who does actually the guy, the Flying Buffalo guy, just died recently. Did you hear that?
Oh no!
Do you remember Flying Buffalo?
Yeah.
So my book was about a guy who does a through the mail game. He's disfigured, and he comes up with a way to make some extra income by adminning a role-playing game where it's turn-based.
Oh, interesting.
And you send in your turns, right? And after I wrote it, some people who were into tabletop said, there's still one that functions that used to do that called Flying Buffalo. And
my God.
And then the next one was about what is Universal Harvester about? I mean, it's about grief. It's
about aging and grief.
It's about aging and grief, but it's also about a video store clerk. And people bring back videotapes and say something's wrong with this. There's scenes cut into it. So it's just creepy book about grief. So.
That is interesting. I always like that idea of people like inserting frames or things into stuff, right? Like that's in Fight Club.
In Fight Club, that's the very last frame of Fight Club. And interpolated scenes are always. I mean, I'm trying to think of what else there is in that where like when I think they still don't know who jammed Max Headroom into the broadcast in Chicago. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
like it was some guy in a Max Headroom mask jammed a terrestrial broadcast, but he was just a guy in a mask doing nothing, just looking at a camera going, like,
and that spawned a whole subgenre in a weird way.
I kind of love that, like the idea of something interfering with a broadcast.
Yeah, there's a I'm gonna forget the name of it, but there's a fascinating thing out that is a like a half-hour video, but it's like a public access table channel type thing where it goes from various broadcasts to various broadcasts, but it's set in the 80s.
Yeah,
and there's music and performances spliced in there too. So, but it feels like someone like turning the dial back and forth to various weird channels and seeing different programming that was made now that's set in the 80s.
Yeah, no, there's something about sort of flow like that. Like there was a book, you know, The Church of the Subgenius?
No.
So there was a thing called The Church of the Subgenius, which was some guys from Texas wanting to come up with a religion, and they took a piece of clip art that you have seen, J.R. Bob Dobbs. It's a guy with a pipe, a well-groomed guy with a pipe. And they said that he was God's messenger, or he was God himself.
Oh my God.
And there was this whole religion based around this concept of slack, right? Needing slack, right?
Yeah.
Which was defined. The best definition of it was when if you were to walk into a liquor store or any store, right? I think of the card store down the street, and just hand them all the money you had in your wallet and say, "Here, give me this much worth of that stuff," right? The moment between you handing them that money and them giving you whatever it was, that's slack. It's like, you know, you're going to get something. And it's something good that you want.
Yeah.
And they had a book called Three Fisted Tales of Bob that was a bunch of like canonical Bob stories. And in them, there was a television station of the future where it was just a few minutes of anything that would then fade up and out. So you'd see a few minutes of a table tennis match and fade down and then fade up on an action movie. Like you'd see a scene of that and then fade that down and then a game show. You know, and then some sword and sorcery, and then like it was just like it would just flow in and out. You wouldn't follow the plot; you just see some of what you needed. I've always liked that.
I really like that too because it's ephemeral. It's like you don't know exactly what you're watching or what it means. And liquid television was kind of like that back in the day. You know, and there's just not enough of that kind of out there where it's weird, not necessarily for weirdness sake, because you know, but it makes you question your reality. Like, am I really watching this or not?
It's stuff just that's not there to meet your expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's something that you talk about in your business a lot is that where people are at with the notion of fan service, you know, and it's like one thing that's good is to confound expectations.
Yeah.
But people right now are not usually in a position of wanting that, right? People will complain very loudly if their expectations aren't met.
Yeah.
Right.
And whereas I think for me and for maybe readers of previous generations, you know, the idea that like I don't get what I wanted, instead I get something that I couldn't have guessed at is what's exciting.
That's really exciting. And I think you might be nailing exactly why D&D is so popular right now.
Yeah,
because so much of what we're watching, what we're consuming, is programmed. From the preview of that's on the previous episode of like, okay, this is what's going to happen next, and you know what you're going to get, you know what genre you're going to get. And for Dungeons and Dragons, you might think you know what's going to happen in your Descent into Avernus game that you're going to start on September 17th, but then you don't actually know. You don't, and you didn't even know that you wanted it
because it's collaborative. Right. So it's because it's collaborative. You're going to be the one making it.
Yeah,
it's like,
but you don't know what Shelley is going to say, and you don't know how she's going to interpret what just happened. And it's that spark.
But you have a little bit of ownership, but there's still a lot of surprise.
Yeah, there's dice. There's
dice.
randomization.
Yeah,
which
so
is
no
great.
matter how you try to keep it on rails, it's not going to stay that way.
Yeah,
because of the dice.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were talking about with like the splicing in the different things, like I'm thinking when you were talking, I was imagining a DM doing something similar in a campaign.
Yeah.
Like you would just, like your player, you could always, like you would never know like where you're traveling through in the world, something new. I mean, you could do anything.
Oh, you could totally do flashbacks.
You could do exactly what you were talking about in D&D. I want to play in that campaign.
I was doing a game at our weekly meetup, and because I have to go on tour, I'm gone for 3 weeks at a time, and I left a bunch of like fortunes for characters.
Are you
to
the
read
dungeon master?
No, I run a couple games. I started running. The first game I ever ran is like a game you shouldn't even try running unless you've been playing for 10 years. It's called Numenon. Do you know this game?
I've heard the name, but I don't know much about it.
It's a game, but But when you read the book, your first question is like, so where's the game in here, right? It's more like a strange fever dream, but you find it's got a domino battle mechanic. It's weird. But we were playing another game where I just left a bunch of fortune-like things for people to read and work into their thing, which was kind of like that. It's like a drop-in. Because I think randomization is important. I actually think it's one of the things in older D&D that goes missing is people get focused on just, get through the dungeon and kill the dragon. But you can do that on a computer, right? You can do that. Computers are better at that.
Just showing you the exact linear path.
Yeah, whereas the point around a table is to make something fun happen.
Yeah. So. When did you start playing? When was your first experience playing D&D?
So my first experience is this sort of legendary story where I signed up. It would have been 77, probably 79-ish, right? And I saw the poster, and I knew I loved science fiction. I was at my junior high, and
the poster. What was the poster?
It was like a flyer that said, "Come join." Okay. Sign up for the D&D club, right? And I said, it sounds like I'd heard about it a little bit in reading the magazine Fantasy and Science Fiction or Isaac Asimov's magazine, and so I signed up, and I showed up, and I don't even remember how I aligned or anything, but I do know that we ran into a ghost, and I said that we'd attack the ghost, and the DM said, "Oh, we shouldn't do that. You'll die." And I said, "Well, yeah, everybody's got a fighting chance." And he's okay. And I rolled the dice and I died, right? And I said, "Well, I'm never going to play this game again. This is dumb." So I didn't play for a long time. And then after I wrote Wolf and White Van, I became a parent around the same time, and I met my friend Clinton. I think you know Clinton, right? And who said, we play if you ever wanted to. And I started playing with Jason Morningstar and my friends Kate and John Bolding and started playing every week. Now, Jason mainly doesn't play D&D style games. He plays very narrative stuff where if there's a dice, it's strictly to point you in this or that direction. Yeah. But we've run several Tunnels and Trolls campaigns for me and stuff like that. And I actually, which is the edition that's so controversial? Was it 3rd or 4th edition?
4th was the one.
I really want to do a 4th edition campaign.
You should.
I really want to do that because I want to do anything that people have different opinions about. So
but
definitely
I've been doing polarizing that now, for sure.
So Wolf and White Van was, I think, 2011 or 12, and I've pretty much been playing ever since.
Sweet. So. Yeah. It's I love that you traced it back from like, oh no, I'll never play this to like, wait a second, I understand now what made that failure exciting.
Yeah, well, no, that's the thing is like the thing is I think that was an excuse. I was also intimidated by having to play with people who already knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's like that's really I'm what I call a fake extrovert. I talk a lot, so it seems like a really social person, but I'm actually pretty nervous in most social environments. And I work with that by being kind of a little overbearing. It's like I sort of take control of the discourse, but actually left to my own, I will stay in my room. I have a line about, like, everybody right now likes to play their video games in multi-user type things. Yeah. And to me, massive thumbs down. Video games are between me and the screen. Yeah. I don't want any other people, whether they're virtual or real.
It's your alone time.
Yeah, it's right.
I can relate because in this job you definitely you have to be a little bit extroverted and talk a lot, blah, blah, blah. But I need that time where I'm just me, mostly with headphones on to drown out The Bachelor in Paradise. That's been playing a lot in my house recently.
Wait, what's Bachelor in Paradise?
It's a terrible reality show where people...
great question.
It's The Bachelor. It's a version of The Bachelor.
Yes, but it's the worst version of The Bachelor.
But does he actually... I'm going to imagine, so he's dead. And he's
the Lich in Paradise.
I don't know. The only thing that really threw me off, and this is a bit of a tangent, but the fact that John Paul Jones is the name that keeps being thrown around.
John Paul Jones?
Yeah, he's the bassist from Led Zeppelin.
But you know that character.
I do now.
He's not a character.
Because in
an actual
few
person.
times I took off my headphones, all I heard was John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones.
Interesting story. When I was in Burbank last week.
Yeah.
He walked by me in our hotel.
The bassist from Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
Oh my God! No, of course he's still alive. I was confusing him with John Entwistle from The Who, who's dead. I was listening to you guys going, no, wait, John.
Wait, he's a ghost, and I tried to kill him, and it didn't work.
He's the Bachelor in Paradise.
He's the Weekend at Bernie's guy. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
They should do Bachelor in Hell next.
Oh, they totally should.
You guys did, right? You did.
We pitched that. We really should.
Kind of. Like along with our Real Housewives.
Come to Avernus, and you can pick.
Bachelor in Hell.
You can pick a devil that you can go home with.
Hell.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, I need that quiet time where it's just I don't even want my kids talking to me at that time. So I'm like, go to bed, so I can just zone out and do that. I will do some multiplayer stuff, but most of the time it's very much about plugging out.
It's funny. My video game time now belongs to my children, who are both obsessed with it. Right? They're Mario fiends, right?
Yeah.
And we're playing Paper Mario, the first one. You have to get the plug-in to a little extra adjunct thing. So my video game time is literally, what do the kids want me to play for them? Because I'm better at it than they are, and they want to advance a little bit. And so they'll get really upset if like, this is a very long turn-based battle, and I think I'm done for now. And they're like, whatever. Beat the guy.
Whatever.
Get to the next level. That's all you got to do. Paper Mario was so good. I loved how it was basically like Final Fantasy, but Mario.
I really, really love the 1,000-Year Door game. Is really great. But there's also what's the Tetris Effect? Have you played that?
No, I haven't. But people have been
that's
clamoring
pretty great.
for it.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. So you like more, not necessarily positional
I grew up
type
on
things.
older video games. I'm not massively into open worlds. I'm the guy who I think I tried the first Red Dead one that was supposed to be really big. I was like, no, I like a dungeon that pushes me in certain directions. Like I tried to play that Witcher 3 that won all the awards, and I got interested in the card game that you can play in it.
The card game is fun.
Yeah, so I got stuck doing that.
Yeah, that's all I did too. Once I realized I can just do that, I'm like,
just
oh.
Play
and then they released that game on its own. I'm like, sure, I'll just play that.
Yeah, you guys go fight dragons.
I know, right? It's pretty awesome, and I love that's why you latch on to Magic. I can see
totally.
that now too. Very cool.
Though the rendering, I got to say, like there's a griffin early on in that game, or a griffin-looking thing. It's beautiful to look at.
Oh, sure. Almost too beautiful. You're like, that looks too real.
I don't. Well, that's. I don't know about you guys for parenting, but a thing happened to me where I've played a lot. I was thinking about the time I logged playing Manhunt. You remember that really sociopathic?
Oh yeah, but it
game?
Was also by Rockstar. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was doing one of the Rainbow Six games when my first son was born, and I found that my relationship to games where you just go and split a bunch of people's heads open, right, really changed.
Yep.
It was like I felt weird about it. I can still do it. I'm not completely squeamish about it, but it doesn't give me the pleasure it used to.
Agreed.
I totally agree.
And
a
it's
lot more squeamish. I don't like any kind of violence. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I used to be able to like sit in a bar and there would be a boxing match or something on. Like even now, I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't like in movies and in video games, TV shows.
But I'm a big boxing and horror guy, and I can still do it. But the stuff especially when I think about Manhunt, where it's like there's a sadism involved.
Oh, for sure.
Sadism really is harder for me to deal with now in art than it used to be. So
even just shooting in general is a little bit off-putting for me at this point. My friend was getting into Fortnite just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I know it's cartoony and it's not real, but I just don't like it.
I mean that and all
the
way the world has gone, especially in the past 8 to 10 years or so, where it's like guns just seem a lot less fun than they used to feel when fewer people were getting shot.
Well, it didn't
with
feel
guns.
real.
So,
It didn't. It felt like, oh, this was a fantasy,
right.
And that's fine. So it gets a little bit, but for some reason, the imagination of D&D never really reaches that level.
Well,
doesn't
because
feel real.
there aren't going to be any dragons involved. In all likelihood, nobody's going to get attacked by a dragon. Nobody's actually going on a quest for treasure. That's all metaphor, right? It's like, and so yeah.
I can latch on.
It's more fun for me.
So, shifting tracks a little bit, I loved your performance with Stephen Colbert.
Oh, thanks.
A few months ago. That just, I was happy tears watching that.
Yeah, that was, it's funny. So he didn't mention this, but we were on his former show, The Colbert Report, in 2009, I want to say.
Okay.
And he was already fond of that song, and he asked us to play it with him. And he came, and we did the same thing that you saw, and it didn't air. The studio audience saw it, right?
Oh, okay.
But it never aired. They kept it. I think maybe if the show had stuck around, they might have done it for a 10th anniversary or something. But it just went to the vaults, right?
Okay.
We don't even have tape of it. Peter filmed it off the monitor in the studio, and he on a hard drive somewhere has footage of that, right? So that was 10 years ago. So to do it again was really fun. It was like, oh, everybody else gets to see it now. So.
Yeah. I just love that his you don't see that a lot in a talk show host or even any kind of celebrity, but his passion for someone else's art just really came through, and a lot of people love that song, myself included. So it just really, I don't know, it was a melding of a whole lot of things. That
it was great being, when you're around the TV host. I don't consider myself an on-camera guy as a rule. I'm pretty much the odd man out on camera, but when somebody from that world joins you in music, you can tell that they are sort of watching you for cues.
Yeah.
And I get really amped when I'm performing, and being able to sort of to drive his energy and have that sort of feedback loop going was really fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah, it was
and
wild.
You could see it. You could see
the jumping
rapport.
up and down. That was really super fun. Yeah.
I mean, that's my one dance move that I can do is just jump up and down. So I was like, oh my God, those are my people.
Those are my moves. My moves. Woo.
It was super sweet. Did you dork out with him at all?
Yeah,
talk about any
D&D?
elves or magic?
We talk about music. You don't get the pace of doing a TV show is really crazy. It's like they show up. And they have all there's a walkthrough that you do without him there, and the host sort of like it's almost like he's flown in by helicopter. He's dropped in to do it. He came. I met his son. His son came and said hello. There was just backstage talking about books and stuff like that, and about the Carolinas. He's from South Carolina, so we talked a little about that. And it was like it's weird touching base with a person 10 years later. It's like it feels like yesterday, kind of.
Right. How are things?
Yeah. So it's like, but I mean, I wasn't a dad when I met him before, but it's usually, if you see somebody in that kind of window, it's like, well, how have you been? Well, I live in an entirely different universe now. It's like all my priorities are different now.
Right. Yeah, no, I could see that for sure. And did you get to see his time when he got to play with Matthew Mercer on Dungeons & Dragons? They did a one-on-one session.
Talk about passion.
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, so
no kidding.
I'm really cute. That's a bucket list type thing.
I gotta watch that. That would be awesome.
To play D&D with Stephen Colbert.
We're getting there.
That would be
he's cracking.
Stephen, we know you're listening to this.
You're a huge fan. In all of your spare time,
let's do this thing.
It'll be and you can play music throughout it. It'll be perfect.
I will be the bard. I usually play a cleric, but I'll do the bard.
Nice. I
have settled into cleric. That's the thing is like as I'm
that's a parent. I feel like that's probably something to do with being a parent. Like this need to like take care of or nurture or heal.
Maybe I think it really is finding where I rest. It's like because I normally wanted to be a magic user type, but the cleric is sort of where I live. We played this game Dogs in the Vineyard. You know this one?
Yeah.
And that was when it was like no. What I want to be is the guy who knows the lore. I want to be the guy who has the books.
Yeah. So, there's something too about the cleric about you. Like your role is pretty darn clear. Like you are there to help out and heal. Yeah. Maybe defend if you need to.
It's kind of a nursing role.
Yeah. It's kind of a nursing role.
That's my old gig.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. You were a nurse.
So I think I saw some people on Twitter just say like that really appeals to them just because there's no maybe I'll tank this guy or maybe I'll attack this thing. Like no, that's you're very clear set.
But you can be a magic using cleric. You can do stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the other thing. Is like I'm either cleric or barbarian. It's like either I'm helping and healing or I'm just killing everything.
Or you're causing the damage. You could be both.
Smacking them all up.
Beat them up and then heal them.
Yeah,
it's going to take years to repair all the damage.
Do you play with D&D with your kids?
So we do. My younger son Moses is really into whatever I'm doing. He actually, it's funny if he finds magic cards around, he will explain the mechanics. He gets them much quicker than I did because he's a kid, so there's less stuff in his brain. So he will explain that this has flying, it means it can't be blocked. Stomach creature with reach. He can totally do that. At 3, he could do that. But what we did is I'm really into dice. I forget if we talked about game science dice last time I was here. And all kinds of
they rule exactly
dice.
Right.
Yes, that's right. Zoki has done his last convention actually. But I have so Jason, who I play with, will go to conventions and bring back weird dice for me, and he brought a lock dice. A lock die that has either locked, open, magically locked, trapped, and I forget what the other things are. So you roll it for what kind of door are you facing.
Oh, I see.
Moses showed interest in this, and so I have a little dice tray, with a dragon on it that I use. I got off Etsy, and so I said, well, this is a lock dice. So you start trying to explain to him. So let's say you come up on a castle and you walk up to the front door. So roll the die, and he rolls it. I said, okay, so it's locked. What are you going to do? And he looks at me. I said, well, we might look around to see if there's a key somewhere. So where will we go? And he got really into this. And so for about 2 weeks, this was a daily thing where we would just sit down with it. And I would, every single scene is just you enter and you find a door and what's the condition of the door. And often, because he's a young child, you wind up finding the pantry and finding food, right? And that's what you do is you find the food and you bake something in there, and when you're finding the ingredients, the cabinet's locked, and so or it's magically locked, or it's trapped and you tumble down, and we did that, and it's like it was just a complete free-form game that almost always involves a castle, and so we did that, and we do another version of that involves just traveling to other countries, getting on airplanes. And,
neat.
And so
that's basically rolling on a table. And figuring out what you're gonna find next.
Each pass, roll something, and then it's on me to read what the roll means.
Yeah,
so,
That's.
It's super fun.
That's the basics of D&D, right
really
there.
Is.
It's really. It's funny because he's a wonderful child who's also, when he gets into something, he is fully dedicated to it. So I'll play that for 20 minutes. Then I'm ready to move on to something else. And it's like, no, we're not done.
We're not done.
Yeah, we got to find where this goes.
Well, when you cut it off, you go, okay, well, it's time for me to go fix dinner. Like, he'll give you this look like, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Okay, great. I guess we're not bros like I thought we were.
Oh, man.
Cut me deep.
He's very deep on that stuff. He's very intense with it.
Have you ever played Magic Door with Alexa?
No. We don't have an Alexa.
Well, if you had one. She's got a skill that's Magic Door. That's essentially a choose your own adventure.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, she starts
you mean
telling
a pick
your
your
story.
path?
A pick your path.
Because the choose your own adventure people will come after you if you say that.
That's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's not that at all.
Not at all.
It's just like it, except it's called pick your path.
Right.
Oh my God, I have a
you ever
Nicol
played
Bolas thing, and now I'm seeing there's a Gideon Jura one also. What?
I know. Pop is amazing. Yeah. Seeing all of their things, it makes people drool.
Makes them drool.
Exactly.
They're local.
They are. They're
in
in Seattle.
Right? I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. I've never been to their offices. Have you?
No.
Oh man.
I've heard good things.
I'm trying to use my downtime to rest and recuperate, and now I'm hearing that they are local. So
You are going to have every tour come through Seattle.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you just came here through when PAX West was last weekend, and so we had a lot of visitors who had just come into the city, and they went to
I can't believe
all
you
the
guys are
sites.
coming to work this week. Like this is like I would be recovering from
It
that.
should be like our week off.
Because that's a big thing, right? It's like
it is, yeah. A lot of folks descend upon it. We do, a lot there, but you can pick and choose how in depth you're going to have your experience be. But I just love going to see the live shows of people playing Dungeons and Dragons, for an audience. I think that's something really exciting. It blends the worlds of music performance, I think, because they're usually smaller. There's only like 200, 300 people usually watching people live doing those things. And
did you play some, or did you just?
No, I just got to watch. I watched some. The Acquisitions Incorporated thing was at the Paramount Theater.
That's not a small crowd.
That's not a small crowd. Yeah, that was around 2,500 people,
Good
all
Lord.
packed in,
man,
hanging on every die roll, too. So
awesome.
I love that. So when something high happens, everyone's like, yeah,
that's cool.
It is. It's a great energy.
Very, very different feel, but it reminds me of music performances.
Keep me away from there because I famously, when it's time to roll something and you need the win, I will roll a 1. Absolutely reliably.
That will still get a reaction, though. That's the coolest part about it, is that people will be like, no, and then like writhing and gnashing their teeth in the seats because they want their their favorite characters to succeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's something. I mean, I've always kind of equated it to music performance because there is something that the crowd gives back, and the people are all creating. They're all thinking about what's really happening in their heads at the same moment, and the only thing that gets close to that is being at a rock show or at a kind of music thing.
Yeah. I know that feedback loop, that conversation. Right?
Yeah. Well, I want to incorporate more, music in it too. So we'll make that happen eventually.
Yeah, it's interesting. We use, now that Bluetooth will let you just play whatever you want from your phone. I think we've done that when we're playing like something set in Russia and something happens and like you can just totally just here's the Russian national anthem, right? And that aspect of gaming is pretty cool. And there's actually I have a sound generator it's an ambient sound that's mainly for noise cancellation. But it's got a lot of forest sounds and stuff like that. And you can really, if you have somebody who's on it, it can totally change the texture of your evening.
Yeah, for sure. We have a partner called Sirenscape that basically has a dashboard for creating sounds in a fantasy environment.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so instead of being like, oh, I got to queue up this special thing and search for it, blah, blah, you can just press a button and it'll be like, all right, now we're in a tavern.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, and someone dropped something and there's, or all of a sudden a troll comes out and roll will happen, and
that stuff is great.
You can go real deep in it, or you can just do like basic, like, okay, this is the soundscape of Waterdeep, for example.
Yeah, but it goes back to like, do you remember? I don't know if either of you are old enough.
Probably
the thrilling, chilling sounds of the Haunted House record.
Yes.
It was like, and it was this thing that people would put on at Halloween.
Yes.
And you would hear it coming from inside
a creaky
their house.
door.
Creaking door, an angry cat, a storm, all that kind of stuff.
My God, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you did that, I was like, oh, I remember that.
I was the voice of the creaky door.
It's a legendary record, and it's like
the vocal talents of Shelley Mazanoble.
That's my one credit.
We're there back in 1972 or whenever.
That, Matthew Mercer.
Yeah, I think it was from
toe.
Disney. I forget, but
I do remember that.
Yeah, pretty cool. I can see the record. It was orange with a scene of a haunted house on a hill, and
everybody put their record player out on the porch or something like that.
Or pointed the speaker at the door.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh.
Come a long way. Kids these days, they have no idea.
We should really, latch into that Halloween type thing because there is so much about that experience that translates now to where D&D and like setting the stage.
Halloween is actually. I was talking about Moses. My younger is like he's in Spider-Man, and so he got him a Spider-Man costume. And I have never seen anything like this because I'm not. When I put on a costume, I feel like a guy in a costume, But when he puts on a Spider-Man costume, he fully inhabits it. He's like he acts different, he talks different, he looks at you different. He's very into it. I took him to the comic convention in Charlotte, and he posed for a green screen thing. Mm-hmm. And the second he saw it, he just like transformed. It was so amazing. And he's super into it. I think there's a lot of space for Halloween to sort of be thought about in different ways. Although it's also the parental aspect of that is all different. Where you just, if you're an older parent, you go like, seems like it's a lot less freeform than it used to be.
Right? Yeah. You used to be like, I'm a hobo or whatever.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Now you got to have like a specific character that you're.
And you just went out walking, whereas now it's like you scope out which neighborhoods are the trick or treat neighborhoods. Right?
Or you go like to the business districts.
Yeah.
You always did that. I'm
not doing it.
I don't want to trick or treat in businesses.
It's free candy's free candy, man.
That's true.
Safeway's candy is as good as the house down the street. Candy.
All right, that's a valid point. Valid point.
That's a very good point.
That's where they got it anyway. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Go right to the source.
Who is on your shirt?
This is Beetle and Grimm's. They are a company that makes kind of bespoke Dungeons & Dragons adventures now. This is Matthew Lillard from...
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. He created this company with 4 of his friends.
Matthew Lillard, he was in SLC Punk, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was at D&D Live. I don't know if maybe you guys just didn't cross paths. But yeah, his company now makes, they're coming out with one for Baldur's Gate Descent to Avernus. They're basically a big box, and you have the adventure broken out into different booklets, but then there's props, there is maps, there's things that like you can use to enhance your game, so it's not just... you have to make that all yourself. You can buy it as a package.
I can't. It's so the thing is, I hardly see any movies at all. And like usually, if you name an actor, I will go who, right? And like there's a kind of an in-camp famous story where we were at a radio station in New Zealand, and a guy strikes up a conversation. I'm waiting to go on the air and talking to him, and what do you do? Oh, I'm an actor. And okay, cool. Well, good to meet you, Sam. And
you're Sam Elliott?
It was Sam Neill. And,
Sam Neill.
And after he left, like my handler person was like, "You didn't know who that was?" No. And I generally don't know who anybody is. But Matthew Lillard, for whatever reason, left a big impression on me with he was SLC Punk, and there's another one like right after that where I thought that
he was great. In Hackers, Scream.
Oh, Scream! Yeah. No, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's one of them.
Yeah, well, if it's a horror movie, then there's a much better chance.
There's a better chance. Yeah, that makes sense. No, he's fantastic. I mean, we've had him in here talking about his journey. He's been playing Dungeons & Dragons for like 25 years.
No kidding.
That's his gaming group that he works with, right?
Yeah. So his group got together, and now they're forming. He calls it their midlife crisis company. But
that's great.
They're making things happen.
That is cool.
Beautiful things.
Yeah, we've been we talk a lot about merch ideas in camp, and me and Ryan, we talked about doing a dice set to sell at the merch table.
For sure.
And he scoped out some companies. We'll see if we get that going.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you need any help.
That or a tray. It's like the thing is, the trays you buy off Etsy that people are just making by reconnoitering stuff from like thrift stores and then shellacking, some cool stuff out there.
That is really cool stuff. I like that combination of found object with something that's made.
Me too.
Combining them. Yeah, feels more almost like it's something you could find in the world.
Yeah, our merch person Trudy, she knitted me my first dice bag, and it looks like an owl, and it's got a little piece of wood sewn into it. It's very cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
I love the treatment you guys did for the In League with Dragons vinyl set that's got the special edition thing with the dragon skin kind of jacket.
Oh, yeah, the outside dragon skin. And then it's a gatefold so you can use it as a DM screen.
Oh, my God. That's so clever.
Cool. Yeah, I absolutely dig that you guys leaned into it.
It's pretty cool. It was very, I'm very grateful to Merge because it's like you can pitch an idea like that to a label and then they'll go, well, look, this is a nice idea. It costs a bunch of money, right? That means you have to sell a lot of records, and so and it's the Mountain Goats, so we will sell some records, but we're not going to sell hundreds of thousands of records. But yeah, it's like it's. I'm really happy with that edition.
Yeah, I think vinyl. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You know more than I do, but like I feel like there's like a collector's bespoke kind of community that just wants to get everything that's new and interesting. So.
Well, yeah, especially since most vinyl these days will come with a download code. So if you want to support the music you're listening to. Mm-hmm. if you buy the vinyl, you get the download code, then you have a cool thing,
right?
And there's no reason not to make it cool then. If you're just selling somebody a piece of wax in a sleeve, that's kind of insulting at this point.
Yeah.
It's like you should do something, either the art should be really cool or you should have a spot high gloss sleeve, something that makes it an object worth having in your home.
Yeah.
We've always done that since my earliest editions. I've wanted them to look really cool. So
it's working.
Even when they were looking handmade. But like in 99, they did work with the Corner's Gambit that came in a paper bag that had a story printed on it, right? And then it was on white vinyl. We get the chance to do this kind of stuff. Go hard or go home is a good line if you're making stuff. Is like make the stuff that you yourself would want to buy.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think collector's editions and things like that, the ones that make you, even the people who are making the game or making the product, if they want it, then that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah. I mean, I think that comes out a lot in gaming. Is like you can tell is like people are making games they would want to play. So for sure.
Does anyone in your band play D&D?
No, I've tried to interest them in Magic recently. This is not going over, but no, it's they're
trying
not,
to get them just to like, come on, guys, I need a partner.
I think Avel, who is our tech, I think Avel does some stuff. But the other thing is like downtime on the bus. The bus is so, I try not to ever complain about my work, but the bus is a hard place to live, and like it's like the games that I play, the games. So I went and got a bunch of one-player RPGs from drive-through, right?
Yeah.
And or from free use stuff. And there's a game called Hikikomori. Do you know what Hikikomori is?
I don't know.
It's a shut-in in Japan, a person who sort of has forsworn the world and it's a sad, depressed condition. Mm-hmm. And there is a game where you're one of those people, right? That's a game, and you keep a diary, right? That's a game I play on the road.
Do you have to like roll for specific things that happen to you?
Yeah,
and then
you
like,
do.
What do you do about it?
Yeah, you roll for like dealing with people who try to make conversation with you, right? And stuff like that.
That sounds really interesting.
That does sound interesting.
And it's also you can play it in a sad way, you can play it in a sort of angry way. I mean, it's like it's not really a fun game, but it's a realistic game.
And it's the only one you can play as a shut-in on your bus by yourself.
There's another one called Quill, where it's a letter writing game. I think that's how you. There one. I seriously think there's a lot of room for working with how you would play games by yourself, right?
For sure.
Which is interesting because I think a lot of us who do tabletop stuff might have some social anxiety issues that like. Who would like to see is like, what about when I don't want to hang with people, but I do want to play a game?
Right. And I don't want to do it digitally. I don't want to play on a computer.
But I don't want to go on the computer and get yelled at and stuff like that or get owned, And so there's a lot of room in there, but it's hard to think of imaginatively because when you think about play, it is social. And it's also good, it's good for me that I have a weekly game group. That's healthy for me to show up and play with people.
Yeah.
It's good. So,
But every once in a while you want to do something that's a little bit more relaxing.
If you're living on a bus, it's like...
For me, that was always making characters, like just creating
rolling them up,
rolling them up and starting them and be like, okay, what is this backstory? What's that all about? And it sounds similar to the games that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're basically creating that character, and
moving
role
it
playing
through the
it
world.
out. Yeah, exactly.
Have you played Dungeon Mayhem?
No.
We're gonna get you a copy.
Okay.
Great for your kids.
Excellent.
It's a D&D card game.
Yeah.
Oh
kids. Man, Moses will be massively into that.
Oh, totally.
Not as complicated as the rules behind Magic, so he'll learn it even faster.
Oh, he's so into games right now. He got into, this was adorable. He got into Uno
nice.
Over a beach vacation, and he got really into it. And again, like if you're playing Uno with Moses, you're gonna have to find a very good reason to stop playing, right? And one day I look over at the table and he had found one of my deck boxes. And he was writing his name on it. It was like that was for his Uno deck.
Oh, nice.
But he also, because he's seen me deck building, he started building his hand in a way that it would draw well.
Yeah.
And
Smart.
then you shuffle your deck, but I'm not going to shuffle mine. We had to explain to him, no, that doesn't go in Uno.
That's
you have to shuffle the deck.
Oh, my God. I remember doing that as a kid with Uno when you're like playing with cousins or whatever, and you're like, all right, I'm going to put all the skips on the fourth card in here. Okay, let's everybody. Oh, I've got all the skips.
Yeah.
No, he was fully doing that. He was loading it with a bunch of draw fours for you.
Smart kid. So we played Uno this past weekend, also on a beach vacation, and I've never seen this card come up before. It was Swap Hands.
Oh, I love Swap Hands.
Okay, so I played it. My son had Uno. And I had like 100 cards, and I drew Swap Hands, and I was like, Swap Hands.
There you go. It's
and
vicious.
He goes, no, that's not what that card does. And I said, it's definitely what that card does. It says right here, you swap hands.
The nature of Uno is it just right what it says.
He goes, no, it means that you have to take those cards in your hand and move them to your other hand.
Nice try, buddy.
I know.
What's up, rules lawyer McGee?
And he was like, just like so adamant. It was so clever that I was almost like, Okay.
Yeah, no, it's hard
to.
to.
Like, no,
because you only hold your cards with one hand, and you have to be like, nope, the other hand.
Oh, I have to use this.
What
hand
mechanical?
now.
What would be the point of that? Well, you got to do what it says.
He was horrified.
Is there like a pat your head card that you have to play?
That is great.
I never saw that card
great. before.
Is
it new? Yeah, I've never seen it.
I love
either.
it. I think that's exactly my kind of rules mechanic.
Oh yeah.
There's a magic card called Shared Symmetry that I really like. It's stuff that like throw your hand away cards.
Yeah.
Love stuff like that.
You'll
Or
love
like
Dungeon Mayhem.
Yeah, type things. Yeah, because there's one in
cards
Dungeon Mayhem that's like swap life.
Vampiric touch.
Touch.
Love stuff
You're
like that.
You're going to love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of a sudden someone's winning. Wait, nope, no, you're not because we're switching with me.
We now have each other's hit points.
I absolutely love things like that. Yeah.
It'll be fun. So you have your gig tonight at Showbox.
Yep.
That's going to be super fun.
And tomorrow at Newhouse. Yep.
Are there? Is this the end of the tour? You got some more dates coming
we're
up.
In the middle. We finished 1 week and there's 2 to go. So we're doing here, Portland, Vancouver, L.A., Anaheim, San Francisco. I miss San Francisco in there, and we end up in Vegas somehow or another.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a good way to end.
And then there's another tour this year.
Then me and Matt do the duo tour, which is a whole different thing, and we're doing that to Europe. So we're going to London, Ireland, Norway. I have a date to play Magic in Norway with a fella that I know from who I draft with. Who'll be over
sweet.
there. Excited about that.
Well, that's awesome.
And so yeah, going over there. I forget where that one ends. But we go to Holland. Yeah, it's
all over the place.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's how album release year goes. You go to as many places as you can do.
Yeah. Well, exciting. I hope folks who are listening to this go to see one of those shows.
Yeah.
It's definitely worthwhile.
It is a fun show.
It is a great show. Yeah, you do good work.
Thank you.
Good work.
I'm blessed to have a good band.
It's mostly them. Yeah, that's true.
But it is the thing is like I'm the band leader, but I seriously like. Well, it's like when you are the DM, you are responsible for everybody having a good time. But who makes the good time? Your players make the good time.
Exactly. So. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
You
that
are
makes
the
sense.
DM of the band.
I am indeed. I write the set list, but it's up to the band to make it work. So
very cool. All right, well, go see the Mountain Goats. We love that you have a passion for gaming and Magic and D&D and all those things.
No, it's a blast.
So next time you're in Seattle,
I will see you right back here.
We're gonna draft some more
dates.
We gotta roll some dice one of these days too.
Yeah, no, we got to do that. Absolutely. You gotta play 4th edition with me.
I will. I totally will. That's when I DM'd the most was during
is that right?
4th edition. So I'll take you. I'll take you.
Really want to do that.
So. Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah, especially if you got all the minis. That's the fun part of moving them around on that sheet.
Oh man, I was going to the shops that had them before the minis were reified when they were pewters. Right, I had a pewter Gandalf and a pewter Gollum back then.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, do you still have them?
Stuff. No, those got lost in a move. I mean, they were tiny, but like that they existed because I was a huge Tolkien fiend when I was 11 and 12, and like that I could get a little, and it was heavy. It had a little bit of weight.
Yeah, when it has heft, it
so
means so
cool.
much more.
Oh my God, so important. It was like that was really the hippest thing about the little pewter Gandalf I had. I had a tree beard also. Really cool stuff. Yeah.
Was it big, like a big tree beard?
No, they they fit in your palm, and so you sort of had to look very closely at them.
So it wasn't to scale. It was the tree beard. I mean, because he's 20 feet tall, right? 30 feet tall. So.
Well, he was bigger than the Gandalf.
Oh,
it was okay. So they were just scaling that term. But the Gollum was really tiny, and he was holding the ring aloft, so you knew exactly what scene it was from. Yeah. It was really cool.
Oh my gosh. Now I want to go nerd out and watch some Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
Reread those books with my kids. They're getting to that age.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah. I'm going to start. I have the illustrated Hobbit that I really want to pull out.
Oh, yeah.
soon.
I think we have that.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's an exciting thought.
Spark those imaginations going.
Yeah, but don't do Beatrix Potter because as a parent, you'll go, you know what? I think actually that's... Have you tried Beatrix Potter?
No.
Peter Rabbit?
There's a very violent book.
Is it really?
Yeah.
The Tale of a Fierce Bad Rabbit.
Oh.
A lot of rabbits getting shot in these books. It's like, and it just reads...
Not a lot of love for rabbits.
So, I'll tell you this
it's
story
like Watership Down, but worse.
Oh, my God.
Oh my God!
It's not rabbit on rabbit. It's
I
like
made the
rabbit.
mistake of taking Roman to see Watership Down when he was like 4, and I had forgotten. And it's like, and as soon as the cull begins, it's like, buddy, let's go get some ice cream.
Yeah, right. The Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, he's more of a Spider-Verse guy, which is the greatest movie in
that is
the
a good
last
movie
10
for
years.
sure.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
All right, so what was the story you want to end on?
Oh God, what was it? It was I don't.
Beatrix Potter.
It had to do with Beatrix Potter, and I was going to say it was funny. So my memories of these are great, beautiful children's books from the old school of telling stories well and in beautiful sentences and everything. I grew up on those. Right?
Mm-hmm.
My wife did not. She's younger than I am, right? And so I get one of these books. I'm going to read it to Roman. She looks at it and goes, "These are horrible." And I was like, "What are you kidding? It's Beatrix Potter. She's the best." Look, I have no previous relationship to these books. I'm telling you as a parent, these are terrible. And I wanted to defend them, and then I read them, I go, wow. These are incredibly violent books.
Oh, man. But do they have good lessons at least, and good characters?
Well, I mean, sort of, but some of the lessons are very much mind your own business or you will die, right?
Oh,
it's like,
I know.
Behave, right? Like they come from an older school of the way you think of children.
Right.
I mean, they are sweet at their core, but I'm not going to read them to my kids. They can find them when they're 7.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like that with C.S. Lewis and the Narnia books. Where I'm like, I loved those books as a kid. Then I'm like, wait a second, this is just a metaphor for religion. Then I'm like, I don't know if I want to get that.
Man, I wondered. So my dad and I had bonding moments after the divorce that we discovered C.S. Lewis together, and I was literally 7 years old, and we read Lion, the Witch, Wardrobe together, and he got it, and to me it was just fantasy. But I mean, I just loved it so much. We'll see. Those would be the ones I'd be like, I don't care how preachy they are. Those are great.
There is a lot of just going to another world. I think is a really fascinating thing for a child.
The first scene of going into Narnia. I mean, that's one of the most important reading moments in my life.
For sure. Yeah, because I didn't know fantasy like that could do that. Could transport you like that, and it really did. So I'm with you there.
Yeah.
But now I want to do that with D&D for my kids.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thank you again so much.
My pleasure.
Everybody should know and listen to more Mountain Goat stuff out there, and hopefully this interview will make that happen.
Awesome.
It will.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks, you guys.
you.
That was fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye.